On my birthday, my father called me just a burden. That night, they threw me out, so I canceled all their bank cards. The aftermath stunned the whole family. I never thought my 21st birthday would end with me homeless, heartbroken, and finally finding my backbone. But that's exactly what happened when my father decided to show his true colors at what should have been a celebration. I'm Alex, by the way. Just your average overworked college student who'd been juggling classes, a part-time job, and somehow still contributing to my family's household expenses. Looking back, I should have seen the signs earlier. The way my paycheck mysteriously became expected income for the family budget. How my father Robert's eyes would narrow whenever I mentioned saving for my own place. My mother Diane's uncomfortable silence when I'd bring up my future plans. Even my younger sister Emma, barely 17, and already mastering the art of manipulation like our parents. They had a comfortable upper-middle-class lifestyle in our suburban neighborhood outside Boston. Nice cars, regular vacations, designer clothes, yet somehow my $600 monthly contribution was essential. For 3 years, I'd been handing over most of my earnings from my job at the campus bookstore and weekend shifts at the local coffee shop. Family helps family, Dad would say, clapping me on the shoulder while simultaneously holding out his hand. Meanwhile, I was sleeping on a worn-out mattress in our finished basement because they'd converted my bedroom into Mom's crafting studio during my freshman year. I ate ramen while they ordered takeout. I took the bus while Emma got a car for her 16th birthday. But hey, that's family obligation, right? At least, that's what I kept telling myself until that fateful Friday in April when everything changed. I had been looking forward to my birthday for months. Not for the gifts, I knew better than to expect much there, but because I'd finally saved enough for a security deposit on an apartment with my friend Tyler. Freedom was so close I could taste it. I just needed to break the news to my family, and man, did I miscalculate how that would go down. The morning of my birthday started like any other day. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. in my basement bedroom, really just a partitioned corner with a bed and dresser. The ceiling pipes dripped occasionally, creating that lovely symphony of plinking sounds that had become my nighttime lullaby. I could hear my dad's heavy footsteps above as he got ready for his job at the insurance company. Executive position, good benefits, 6-figure salary, not that you'd know it from how they squeezed me for cash. I pulled myself out of bed and got ready for my 8 a.m. class, trying to feel excited about my birthday. I'd even splurged on a new shirt, navy blue with subtle stripes. Nothing fancy but better than my usual thrift store finds. Mom had promised to make my favorite dinner that night, lasagna with garlic bread. It wasn't much, but it felt like something. Maybe they'd even remember to get me a cake this year. The thing about my family's finances that never made sense was where all the money went. Dad made good money. Mom's part-time real estate job brought in decent commissions, yet they were always acting like one missed paycheck from disaster. Credit card bills piled up on the counter sometimes. I'd glimpsed the balances once when sorting mail. Thousands owed. Designer purses for Mom, golf clubs for Dad, cheerleading camps for Emma. Meanwhile, I'd been wearing the same 3 pairs of jeans on rotation since high school. "You're an adult now," Dad had said on my 18th birthday when he first asked for contribution to household expenses. Time to learn financial responsibility. Funny how that lesson didn't apply to anyone else in the house. Even funnier how my bank account information somehow ended up on their computers with helpful automatic transfers set up. When I questioned it, Mom would get teary-eyed. "After everything we've done for you," the guilt trip express never missed a stop. That birthday morning, I caught my reflection in the bathroom mirror and barely recognized myself. Dark circles under my eyes from working late shifts. Shoulders permanently hunched from carrying everyone else's expectations. But there was something else there, too. A glimmer of determination. That night, I was going to announce my plans to move out. I had it all rehearsed. Thankful but firm, appreciative but resolute. I even practiced in the shower, water drowning out my voice as I repeated, "I've found an apartment with Tyler. I'm moving out next month." 6 words that would apparently blow my family apart like a grenade. The birthday dinner started at 7 p.m. I'd rushed home from my last class, hoping maybe, just maybe, there'd be a card waiting, or a small wrapped gift. The house smelled like garlic and tomato sauce when I walked in, and for a moment, everything felt normal. Dad was in his usual spot on the couch watching sports highlights. Mom was putting final touches on the lasagna. Emma was sprawled across an armchair, scrolling through her phone with practiced boredom. "There's the birthday boy," Mom said, glancing up briefly. No hug, no card in hand. Just acknowledgement that yes, I had in fact been born on this day 21 years ago. Such enthusiasm. Dad muted the TV. "Got your paycheck this week?" he asked instead of happy birthday. Classic Robert move. I nodded, feeling the familiar knot form in my stomach. Good, good. Mortgage is due next week, and Emma needs new soccer cleats. I breathed deep, fingering the deposit slip in my pocket, the one showing I'd already put money down on the apartment with Tyler. "Actually, Dad, I wanted to talk about something during dinner." Dinner itself was fine. The lasagna was good. I'll give Mom that much. Emma dominated the conversation with drama about her friends and some school projects she was avoiding. Nobody asked about my classes or work. Nobody mentioned my birthday until Mom brought out a store-bought cake, chocolate with vanilla frosting. Not my favorite by a long shot. I'd mentioned last week, I loved red velvet. She must have forgotten. Or never listened. "Make a wish," she said, lighting a single candle. "Not 21. Just one." As if to say, "That's all you're worth." I blew it out and decided it was time. "I wanted to let you all know I'm planning to move out next month," I said, trying to sound casual. "I found a place with Tyler that's closer to campus, and—" Dad's fork clattered against his plate. "Move out? With what money?" "I've been saving," I said. "From my paychecks." The silence that followed was deafening. Then Dad laughed. Not a happy laugh, but that cold one that always made my skin crawl. "Saving? From the money you owe this family?" "Robert," Mom murmured, but there was no real objection in her tone. "I don't owe," I started. "We've put a roof over your head, fed you, clothed you." Dad's voice rose with each word. "And this is how you repay us? By what? Hiding money? Lying to us?" Emma smirked across the table. "Busted," she whispered, enjoying the show. "I'm 21, I said, feeling my hands shake under the table. "Most people my age live independently. I just want—" "What you want." Dad stood up so fast his chair tipped backward. "You've been nothing but a burden from the day you were born. Your mother had to quit her career to raise you. We've sacrificed everything for you, and you've given nothing back." The word burden hit me like a physical blow. 21 years of existence reduced to that single, ugly word. I looked at Mom, hoping she'd defend me, but she stared at her plate, lips pressed tight. "Nothing back?" My voice was barely a whisper. "I've given you thousands of dollars. I cook, I clean." "Get out," Dad said, so quietly I almost didn't hear him. "What?" "You heard me. If you're so independent, you can leave tonight. Pack your things and get out of my house." Mom gasped, but said nothing. Emma's eyes were wide with shock. Even she hadn't expected this escalation. "You can't be serious," I said. "Either you're part of this family, which means contributing and following our rules, or you're not," Dad said. "Your choice, but decide now." I looked at each of them. Dad's red face, Mom's averted eyes, Emma's barely concealed excitement. These people who shared my blood but apparently little else. "Fine," I said, standing up. "I'll go." Emma snickered. "Happy birthday to you," she sang mockingly as I walked away. 20 minutes, that's all it took to pack up my life. One duffel bag of clothes, my laptop, textbooks, and a few personal items. I didn't have much to begin with. Amazing how little you accumulate when most of your money goes to supporting your family's lifestyle. My hands trembled as I stuffed socks into corners of the bag, trying to maximize space. Each item I grabbed felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. From upstairs, I could hear Dad's voice on the phone, probably calling his brother to rant about his ungrateful child. Mom hadn't come down to the basement. Not once. Not to check if I was okay, not to slip me some extra cash, not even to say goodbye. The woman who'd once kissed my scraped knees couldn't be bothered to look me in the eye as I was being thrown out on my birthday. When I lugged my bag upstairs, Dad was waiting by the front door, arms crossed. "Your mother and I have discussed it," he said, though I doubted Mom had contributed much to the conversation. "You can come back when you're ready to apologize and contribute properly to this household." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Emma leaned against the hallway wall, watching the show with undisguised fascination. "Bye, Mooch," she whispered when Dad wasn't looking. As I reached for the doorknob, Dad added the final twist of the knife. "We should have done this years ago. Maybe now you'll appreciate everything we've done for you all these years." The door closed behind me with a final sounding click. I stood on the porch of the only home I'd ever known, with one bag and $237 in my checking account, all that remained after the apartment deposit. My car, technically in Dad's name, would surely be reported stolen if I took it, so I started walking, pulling out my phone with shaking fingers. Tyler answered on the second ring. "Hey, birthday boy! How's the celebration?" I tried to sound normal, but my voice cracked. Can I crash at your place? Just for tonight?" "Dude, what happened?" The concern in his voice nearly broke me. "They kicked me out," I managed, ducking behind a tree as headlights approached, irrationally afraid it was Dad coming to yell at me some more. I told them about moving out, and Dad just lost it. "Holy shit. Where are you now?" "Walking down Maple Avenue." "Stay there. I'm coming to get you." 20 minutes later, Tyler's beat-up Honda pulled alongside me. He jumped out and grabbed my duffel before I could protest. "Your folks are psycho, man," he said, throwing my bag in the back seat. Sitting in the passenger seat, watching my neighborhood disappear in the side mirror, reality finally hit. I was homeless. On my birthday. The tears I'd been holding back finally spilled over, hot and humiliating. Tyler pretended not to notice, turning up the radio to give me privacy in my breakdown. "My roommates are cool with you staying as long as you need," Tyler said as we pulled into his apartment complex. "Couch is yours until we get our place next month." I nodded, wiping my face with my sleeve. "Thanks. I don't know what I would have done." Tyler shrugged. "That's what friends are for, right? Not like your family, who are clearly insane." He paused. "Sorry. Too soon?" Despite everything, I laughed. A short, broken sound. "No, you're right. They are insane." I checked my phone. No missed calls, no texts asking if I was safe. Just silence. That's when something inside me hardened. The hurt was still there, but underneath it, something new was forming. Something that felt dangerously like revenge. Tyler's couch wasn't comfortable, but it was 1,000 times better than the cold shoulder of my family. I lay awake at 2 a.m., scrolling through my phone, looking at birthday wishes from friends and classmates. People who actually remembered and cared. Not a single message from Mom, Dad, or Emma. It was like I'd been erased from existence the moment I walked out that door. I was absent-mindedly flipping through my wallet, taking inventory of my new, pathetic life, when I spotted them. 3 credit cards with my name on them. Authorized user cards on my parents' accounts. Dad had added me years ago to build my credit history, his one concession to my financial future. I'd barely used them, knowing each purchase would be scrutinized and criticized, but I still had them. Then it hit me. A memory from last month when Mom asked me to pay the cable bill online while she cooked dinner. She'd casually rattled off their banking password like it was nothing. Bobby Ditwo, 1003. Their names and wedding year. So original. I'd logged in, paid the bill, and thought nothing of it. Until now. I opened my banking app, hesitated, then typed in their username and password. It worked. Just like that, I was staring at their accounts. Checking, savings, credit cards, everything. The balances made my jaw drop. Thousands in the checking account, a healthy savings cushion, and their credit card statements, my God. Hundreds spent on golf outings, a $400 dinner at some steakhouse last week, $250 at some boutique for Emma just 3 days ago. And there, buried in the transaction history from last month, withdrawal $600, the exact amount I'd contributed from my last paycheck. My breath caught in my throat. 3 years of we're struggling and family sacrifice while they lived it up, and treated my hard-earned money like their personal slush fund. 3 years of ramen noodles while they ate filet mignon. 3 years of believing I was helping keep the family afloat, when really, I was just funding their luxuries. I sat up on Tyler's lumpy couch, my heart pounding. I could do something about this. I could hurt them where it would really matter, their precious lifestyle. The thought was like a flame catching on dry tinder. But should I? Was this crossing a line? Would this make me just as bad as them? I closed my eyes, remembering Dad's words. You've been nothing but a burden. Mom's silence, Emma's smirk, my birthday cake with one pathetic candle. My fingers hovered over the screen. I could report all their cards as lost or stolen. I could change their banking passwords. I could throw the same kind of financial grenade into their lives that they'd thrown into mine. They deserve it, I whispered to myself in the dark of Tyler's living room. They absolutely deserve it. I took a deep breath and made my decision. Sometimes, the only way people learn is when they face consequences. And I was about to become the consequence they never saw coming. Morning light filtered through Tyler's blinds as I sat cross-legged on the couch, laptop open, phone ready. My roommate-to-be had left for his early shift at the campus bookstore, leaving me alone with my thoughts and my plan. A plan that felt both terrifying and exhilarating, like standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing the jump might kill you but also might set you free. Start with the credit cards, I muttered to myself, pulling up their accounts one by one. American Express, Visa, MasterCard, the holy trinity of my parents' spending habits. I navigated to each account, heart hammering against my ribs, and selected Report Card Lost Stolen. Each confirmation message was like a small victory bell. Card has been reported lost, stolen. A replacement will be mailed in 7-10 business days. All current cards have been deactivated for your protection. One by one, they fell. Dad's precious platinum card that he flashed at restaurants to impress his colleagues. Mom's retail cards that fueled her endless shopping trips. Even the emergency card they kept, just in case. All gone, all deactivated, all reported compromised. Then I moved to passwords. Bobby Ditwo, 1003, became Alex Wazhera 2025. Complex enough they'd never guess it. Meaningful enough to twist the knife. Email recovery options? Changed to an address I created specifically for this purpose. Security questions? Altered just enough to be impossible for them to answer correctly. My phone rang, startling me. Uncle Jack, Dad's younger brother and the only family member who'd ever really seen through the facade. The black sheep who'd called out Dad's controlling behavior at Thanksgiving 2 years ago and hadn't been invited back since. Happy birthday, kiddo, he said when I answered. Tried calling yesterday, but figured you were celebrating. I laughed, a hollow sound that must have alarmed him. Alex, what's wrong? The whole story poured out of me. The birthday disaster, the burden comment being thrown out, and yes, my morning activities with their financial accounts. I expected judgment or a lecture on taking the high road. Instead, there was a long silence followed by a low whistle. Well, they certainly earned that, Uncle Jack finally said. Robert's been lording his success over everyone for years, while secretly mismanaging everything. Your aunt and I wondered how they maintained that lifestyle. On my back, apparently, I said, clicking through to freeze their debit cards too. On the back of their burden. Look, what you're doing is technically wrong, Uncle Jack conceded. But so is financial abuse of your child, which is exactly what they've been doing to you. Just be careful, okay? This could get messy. I'm counting on messy, I admitted, feeling a strange calm settle over me as I executed the final steps of my plan. They need to feel what it's like to be powerless for once. After hanging up, I sat staring at the now secure accounts, imagining the chaos about to unfold. Dad's golf game this afternoon, card declined at the pro shop. Mom's hair appointment, embarrassingly rejected. Emma's weekend mall trip with friends, suddenly impossible. For good measure, I called each bank directly, posing as my father, with his social security number and mother's maiden name. Information I knew from years of helping with family paperwork. I'm concerned about unusual activity, I explained to each customer service representative. Please, place an extra security hold requiring in-person verification at a branch. By noon, Operation Financial Freeze was complete. I'd systematically dismantled their spending power in just under 3 hours. The strange thing was, I didn't feel guilty. I felt lighter, like I'd finally stood up for myself after years of being pushed down. My phone remained silent. They hadn't discovered the carnage yet, but they would, soon. And when they did, the perfect suburban facade would crumble spectacularly. The first call came at 2:17 p.m., Dad's name flashing on my screen like a warning siren. I let it go to voicemail, heart pounding as I sat in Tyler's tiny kitchen sipping lukewarm coffee. The voicemail notification popped up seconds later. Alexander. Dad's voice was tight, controlled, the calm before the hurricane I knew all too well. There seems to be some issue with my cards. Call me immediately. No mention of last night. No concern for where I was or if I was okay. Just his immediate problem that he assumed I could somehow fix. 3 more calls followed in rapid succession. I silenced my phone and watched the notifications pile up like evidence in a case against them. Mom texted next. Your father is very upset. Please call home right away. Not, we miss you, or please come home. Just, your father is upset. As if that had ever been my problem to solve. At 3:45, the tone changed dramatically. Dad again, this time leaving a voicemail that bordered on incoherent with rage. What did you do? I know this is you. My cards are all declined. Bank accounts frozen. Is this your idea of revenge? Fix this now, or I swear to God, Alex, you will regret this for the rest of your life. I played that one twice, letting his threats wash over me without their usual sting. Funny how being called a burden and thrown out liberates you from caring about threats. Emma's contribution came via text around dinner time. Way to go, genius. Dad is losing it, and Mom won't stop crying. Whatever you're doing, it's pathetic, and you're just proving Dad right about you being a selfish loser. I should have felt something. Guilt, remorse, anxiety. Instead, I felt oddly peaceful. For the first time in my life, I had power in this relationship. They needed something from me, not the other way around. By evening, my phone had accumulated 27 missed calls, 43 text messages, and 9 voicemails of escalating desperation. The final one from Mom broke the pattern of anger with a tearful plea. Alex, honey, please. We can't access any of our accounts. Dad can't get gas for the car. My card was declined at the grocery store. It was so embarrassing. Whatever's happening, please help us fix it. We're your family. That last line, we're your family, hit differently than she intended. Yes, they were my family. The same family who'd called me a burden and thrown me out with one bag on my birthday. The same family who'd taken thousands from me while living in luxury. The same family who couldn't be bothered to send a single, "Are you safe?" text until their credit card stopped working. I turned off my phone completely and went to take a shower in Tyler's cramped bathroom. Under the hot water, I finally allowed myself to cry. Not for what I'd done, but for what they'd done to make this feel like justice rather than cruelty. When I emerged, Tyler was home, pizza box in hand. You okay, man? You look like hell. Family drama, I said, managing a weak smile. But I think I'm winning for once. Uncle Jack called the next morning with a battlefield report from the home front. I'd finally turned my phone back on but had filtered my parents' numbers straight to voicemail. Jack, however, had received the full, unfiltered meltdown when Dad called him in desperation. It's absolute chaos over there, Jack said, not bothering to hide the amusement in his voice. Your dad missed his mortgage payment yesterday. First time in 15 years, according to him. He's driving around with the gas light on because all his cards got declined at the pump. I winced slightly, imagining the scene. And Mom? Diane had to cancel her lunch with the neighborhood committee ladies because she couldn't pay. Apparently, she got halfway through ordering before realizing none of her cards worked. Had to make up some emergency and leave. The image of my status-obsessed mother having to slink away from her social circle gave me a twinge of satisfaction I wasn't entirely proud of. The best part, Jack continued, was apparently Emma's soccer team was getting new uniforms yesterday. Your dad had promised to cover 3 kids whose families couldn't afford them, showing off, you know how he is. Well, when his card declined in front of the entire team and their parents, ouch, I said, though I didn't really feel the sympathy I was expressing. Robert's reputation as the neighborhood big shot is taking a serious hit, Jack said. Word travels fast in that town. The bank wants him to come in person to verify his identity, but he can't even get gas to drive there. I hadn't considered how quickly this would become small-town gossip. Dad had built his social standing on being the successful, generous guy who always picked up the tab and made donations to every cause. Now he was the guy whose cards got declined at the grocery checkout with a line of neighbors watching. He thinks you hacked them, Jack added. He's threatening all sorts of legal action. But between you and me, I don't think he'll follow through. Too embarrassing to admit his kid outmaneuvered him. I stared out Tyler's apartment window, watching strangers go about their normal lives, while my family's carefully constructed facade crumbled. It should have felt better than it did. I'd wanted revenge, but the reality was more complicated than the fantasy. Do they know I'm staying with Tyler? I asked. They're not thinking that clearly, Jack replied. Right now, they're just trying to get through the day without money. It's probably the first time in 20 years your dad has had to count cash in his wallet. 3 days after Operation Financial Freeze, my temporary sanctuary at Tyler's apartment was compromised. I was returning from campus, backpack heavy with textbooks and mind heavier with mixed emotions about my revenge, when I spotted the familiar silver SUV parked across the street. My father's pride and joy, the luxury vehicle he'd bought, instead of helping with my tuition. How'd they find me? I muttered, ducking behind a neighbor's hedge. But I already knew. Emma and Tyler's younger sister were in the same social circles. One Instagram post from Tyler's roommate about our new couch surfer was all it would take. I considered turning around, avoiding the confrontation altogether. But where would I go? This temporary couch was all I had until our apartment was ready next month. Besides, I was tired of running. Taking a deep breath, I walked toward the building with as much confidence as I could muster. Before I reached the entrance, the SUV doors flew open. Dad emerged from the driver's side, Mom from the passenger seat, and Emma from the back, the full family firing squad. Alexander James Wilson, Dad's voice boomed across the parking lot. Several neighbors peeked through their blinds at the commotion. What have you done to our accounts? I kept walking, keys clutched in my hand like a weapon. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to us. Mom hurried after me, her voice tight with anger and something else. Fear, maybe. We've been locked out of everything for days. The mortgage is late, the utilities are due, we can't even buy groceries. I turned slowly, facing them. Sounds difficult. Maybe you could ask Emma to contribute from her allowance? Or sell some of those designer bags you keep buying? Or maybe Dad could skip a few rounds of golf. Emma's face flushed with rage. You're such a jerk. Mom had to borrow money from Aunt Susan to get gas yesterday. It was humiliating. Humiliating? I laughed, a sound so bitter it surprised even me. Try being called a burden by your own father on your birthday. Try being thrown out of your home with one bag of clothes. That's humiliating. Dad stepped forward, finger pointed at my chest. You will fix this right now. Whatever you did, undo it, or I swear. You'll… What? I interrupted, suddenly fearless. Kick me out again? Already done. Cut me off financially? I've been supporting myself for years while also supporting your lifestyle. Call the police? Please do. I'd love to explain how you've been taking my money for years while living beyond your means. Mom's eyes widened. Taking your money? We gave you a home, food, everything you needed. Really? I pulled out my phone, opened the banking app, and showed her the transaction history I'd screenshotted. 3 years of contributions, totaling over 21,000 from my account to yours. Meanwhile, you spent $400 on dinner the week you told me you couldn't help with my textbooks. Dad bought new golf clubs the same month he said the family couldn't afford to fix my car. The color drained from Mom's face as she stared at the evidence. Dad sputtered, searching for justification. That's different. We have expenses, responsibilities. And I don't? My voice cracked slightly. I work 2 jobs while taking full-time classes. I eat ramen for dinner while you order takeout. I sleep in a basement while Emma gets her own bathroom. And when I finally save enough to move out, you throw me away like I'm nothing. Emma had gone quiet, her eyes darting between her parents and me, as if seeing us all clearly for the first time. Dad's anger deflated slightly, replaced by calculation. Look, we can discuss all this. But first, you need to restore our access. This has gone far enough. No, I said simply. This has just begun. For years, you've controlled me through money. Now you know what it feels like to be financially helpless. We're your parents, Mom pleaded. Whatever mistakes we've made, this isn't the way to handle it. You stopped being parents the moment you called me a burden and threw me out, I replied, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. Now you're just people who made very poor financial decisions and are facing the consequences. The silence that followed my words hung in the air like a physical thing. For perhaps the first time in my life, my parents were speechless. Emma stared at her expensive sneakers, suddenly finding them fascinating. A neighbor walked by with his dog, deliberately averting his eyes from our family drama unfolding in public. Dad was the first to recover, but something had changed. The righteous anger had drained from his face, replaced by something I'd rarely seen there. Uncertainty. Alex, he said, his voice lower now. We need to talk about this reasonably, like adults. I've been the only adult in this relationship for years, I replied, leaning against the building wall. But sure, let's talk. What specifically would you like to discuss? The financial abuse, the emotional manipulation, being thrown out on my birthday, or just the fact that your cards don't work anymore? Mom stepped forward, tears forming in her eyes. We didn't realize the contributions. We didn't think about what it meant for you. Clearly, I said. But the venom was starting to drain from my voice too. This confrontation wasn't giving me the satisfaction I'd imagined. You never asked. You never looked at what was left in my account after I paid you. You never noticed I was wearing the same clothes for years while you and Emma shopped every weekend. Dad ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture I'd inherited from him. The business has been struggling, he admitted quietly. The economy, competition. I didn't want anyone to know. Your contributions helped keep up appearances. Appearances, I repeated. That's what this has always been about, hasn't it? Looking successful rather than being honest. Emma finally spoke up, her voice uncharacteristically small. Did you really give them that much money? $21,000? I nodded. Plus manual labor, plus running errands, plus being the emotional punching bag when things went wrong. I didn't know, she said, and for once, she seemed sincere. Here's what's going to happen, I said, finding strength in finally having the upper hand. I'll restore your access under 3 conditions. First, you acknowledge what you did was wrong, not just throwing me out, but the years of taking advantage of me financially. Dad started to protest, but Mom placed a restraining hand on his arm. Go on, she said. Second, I want a written agreement that I owe you nothing more. No guilt trips, no family obligations, no financial expectations. They exchanged glances, but nodded. Third, I want some of my money back. Not all of it. I'm not that petty, but enough to cover first and last month's rent plus security deposit on the new apartment. Consider it my birthday present for the last 3 years. Dad's face reddened, but he didn't explode as I expected. Instead, he asked, How much? $3,000, I said. The figure calculated carefully to be significant but not crippling. After a long moment, Dad nodded. Fine. You'll get the money, and we'll sign whatever you want. Just fix this, please. The please nearly undid me. I couldn't remember the last time my father had used that word with me. Mom stepped forward tentatively. And will you consider coming home? Just until your apartment is ready? I shook my head. No, that chapter's closed. But I'm willing to talk, maybe have dinner sometimes, as equals, not as your burden. Dad winced at the word, finally seeming to understand its impact. We never should have said that. It was cruel and untrue. Yes, it was, I agreed. But, in a way, I should thank you. If you hadn't thrown me out, I might never have found the courage to break free. They left 30 minutes later after we'd made arrangements to meet at a bank the next day. As I watched their SUV pull away, Tyler emerged from behind a nearby car. Heard the whole thing, he admitted. You were badass, man. I smiled weakly. I don't feel badass. I feel drained. But free, Tyler pointed out. That's worth something, right? Looking up at the afternoon sky, I nodded slowly. Everything, I said. It's worth everything. The cafe on Main Street has become my Sunday ritual. Good coffee, quiet corners, and enough distance from my family's neighborhood that I don't run into them accidentally. It's been exactly 1 year since my 21st birthday disaster. A year of painful growth, unexpected lessons, and rebuilding on my own terms. I stir my latte and catch my reflection in the window. I look different now. Shoulders straighter, eyes clearer. The apartment Tyler and I found has become a real home. My grades improved once I dropped to part-time at the bookstore. Turns out not having to support 4 people makes life considerably easier. My phone buzzes with a text from Mom. Happy birthday, Alex. Dinner at 6 if you'd like to join us. No pressure. Followed by a second message. Your gift isn't conditional on you coming. It's at your apartment already. Our relationship exists in this new, careful space now. The financial freeze lasted 3 days before I restored their access as promised. Dad transferred the $3,000 without argument. The written agreement, stating explicitly that I had no financial obligations to my family, sits in my filing cabinet, rarely needed but comforting to have. Emma stopped by my apartment last month, awkward but trying. I didn't get it before, she admitted, perched uncomfortably on my second-hand couch. How different the rules were for us. She's applying to colleges now, suddenly interested in scholarships and financial independence. My revenge had unexpected beneficiaries. Uncle Jack calls regularly, a relationship that flourished from the ashes of family dysfunction. Your dad's downsized, he reported recently. Smaller house. 1 car instead of 2. They're actually living within their means for once. The family financial reckoning continued long after my part ended. The hardest lesson was discovering that revenge, while temporarily satisfying, doesn't heal the wounds that prompted it. That required harder work. Therapy sessions, where I unpacked years of financial abuse and emotional manipulation. Setting boundaries that sometimes still feel uncomfortable. Learning that standing up for myself doesn't make me selfish. I check my watch and make a decision. I'll go to dinner tonight. Not because I've forgiven everything, but because I'm strong enough now to engage with them on my terms. The power dynamics have permanently shifted. They know I can walk away, and I know I can survive without them. As I leave the cafe, I pass a college kid, counting change for a coffee, reminding me painfully of myself a year ago. I pay for his order anonymously and step into the spring sunshine, 22 years old today and finally, genuinely unburdened. Sometimes the best revenge isn't making others suffer, but ensuring you never suffer the same way again. The cards I canceled eventually got replaced. The passwords were eventually reset. But the psychological chains they had on me, those are permanently broken. And that's the birthday gift I gave myself. One that keeps giving every single day.